In the height of the Cold War, a plane so advanced, so powerful it could dominate the skies was born in Canada. A jet that not only rivaled but surpassed the United States Air Force's best fighters of the time. This is the story of the Avrow Arrow, a plane that changed everything and then disappeared. Before I go further into this story, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're currently at 8 subs and I would love to reach 100 by the end of the year. The year was 1957. The Cold War was at its peak and the world was teetering on the edge of conflict. Soviet bombers were an ever-looming threat to North America. Canada, with its vast Arctic frontier, became a crucial player in the North American defense. The Royal Canadian Air Force, RCAF, needed an interceptor. Fast, deadly, and capable of securing the skies against the Soviet Union. Enter the CF-105 Avrow Arrow. Designed by Avrow Canada, the Arrow was years ahead of its time. With its delta wing design, advanced fly-by-wire controls, and a top speed of over Mach 1.9, it could intercept any Soviet bomber long before it reached the North American airspace. The Arrow wasn't just fast, it was a technological masterpiece. Its advanced Iroquois engines, capable of producing 30,000 pounds of thrust each, pushed the planes to speeds and altitudes that had never been seen before in any interceptor. Similar to these beautiful jet engine models with moving parts available on our store at Williams Aeronautics, along with many other great flight sim products. The Arrow featured groundbreaking avionics, including one of the earliest applications of fly-by-wire technology, offering pilots precision control. It also boasted a revolutionary fire control system with an internal weapons bay, capable of guiding advanced air-to-air missiles, ensuring enemy bombers never stood a chance. Comparisons with its contemporaries, the American F-102 Delta Dagger and the Soviet MiG-21, places the Arrow leagues ahead. In 1958, the Arrow's maiden flight exceeded all expectations. Pilots praised its speed, maneuverability, and sheer power. Jim Chamberlain, one of the key figures behind the Arrow, once remarked, "It was not just an interceptor, it was the future of aviation." But this wasn't just about engineering. The Avrow Arrow was born into a world on edge. The Soviets were ramping up their bomber fleet, and NATO needed every edge it could get. Canada's vast northern frontier was the first line of defense against Soviet aggression. The Arrow was uniquely suited for the role. Its speed and range made it ideal for patrolling the Arctic, intercepting Soviet bombers before they could threaten North American allies. Every second mattered, and the Arrow gave the RCAF those precious seconds. But it wasn't just Canada's fight. It was about securing the entire NATO alliance. With the Arrow, Canada wasn't just defending itself. It was a linchpin in a global strategy to contain the Soviet threat. And yet, despite its incredible potential, the Avrow Arrow project came to an abrupt and tragic end. On February 20th, 1959, a day known as Black Friday in Canadian aviation, the Canadian government cancelled the program. The reasons? Officially, it was about cost and changing defense priorities. But the real story is far more complex. Some argued that the shift from manned bombers to intercontinental ballistic missiles made the Arrow obsolete. Others pointed to political pressure from the United States, which wanted Canada to adopt American aircraft, like the CF-101 Voodoo. Adding insult to injury, nearly all prototypes, blueprints, and equipment related to the Arrow were destroyed. It was as though the project never existed. For thousands of workers at Avrow Canada, it was a bitter end to a dream. The cancellation of the Arrow had far-reaching consequences. Many of Avrow's top engineers, including Jim Chamberlain, Tequin Roberts, and John Hodge, were quickly recruited by NASA. These Canadians didn't just find new jobs, they became essential to the United States space race. Chamberlain led the design of NASA's Gemini spacecraft, while Roberts developed the communications network for the Apollo missions. These contributions helped put a man on the moon, a legacy built on the foundations of the Canadian Avrow Arrow. Back in Canada, however, the aviation industry never fully recovered. The Avrow's destruction wasn't just the end of a plane, it was the end of Canada's ambition to lead in aerospace innovation. Ironically, years later, these same same engineers would go on to develop the F-18, an aircraft now used all over the world and even in Canada. Today, the Avrow era remains a symbol of Canadian ingenuity and lost potential. In 2020, long-lost blueprints of the Avrow era were rediscovered, reigniting interest in the aircraft. They are now preserved as a reminder of what Canada once achieved. Historians and aviation enthusiasts still debate, could the Arrow have changed the course of aviation history? And if it had flown into full production, how might it have shaped Canada's role in global defense? Perhaps the greatest tragedy of the Avrow Arrow is that we'll never truly know what it could have been. But its legacy endures as a testament to Canadian ambition, innovation, and the belief that we could achieve greatness on the world stage. So what do you think? Was the Avrow Arrow a victim of politics, or was its cancellation inevitable in the face of changing times? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories from the history of aviation.